Hey there, everybody. Yo, Dre, I got something to say. This is Walt. Uh, Today, I'd like to talk about Joe Biden. Um, Seems like a lot of people have been silenced on talking about Joe Biden due to the election or the corporate media and DNC. Primary winner is the guy going against Trump. Uh, I think it was the day that he named Kamala Harris his running mate. I made a comment on social media that just said, I hope the Democrat ticket can find its way against mass incarceration in the future. I didn't say anything bad, but man, the hate mail came. I was called a Trump apologist. I was called a Trump supporter. Called stupid a lot. Well, I'm going to talk about Joe Biden now. And just because of a few statements I've made, comments on other things, and angry messages that I get, statements that I'm called. I was taken for just bringing up what I want to talk about. A Trump person confused about election fraud and everything. I don't know where all this stuff comes from. It's just I never like not talking about things that matter, so we're going to talk about things that matter. Recently, there was a private Zoom call that Joe Biden was on with various leaders in the black community. We'll call them civil rights leaders. By no means real progressive group, but still black, and a group of people that Joe Biden certainly should be talking to. This call was not supposed to be public. We weren't supposed to hear about it. It was a private call. He and Kamala Harris were involved in it. Ryan Grimm got a hold of the leaked audio, and recently has gotten a hold of the Zoom video call itself. Ryan Grimm has a podcast called Deconstructed. Real good stuff there. And he released this audio and Zoom through The Intercept. And gosh, it's not surprising for a lot of us that know Joe Biden. He's been in politics for a long, long time. I remember when he was running for president in 1988. His record, he's got quite a record. And of course, he's Barack Obama's vice president. And he became the chosen one of the establishment to take on Trump. So here he is. Interesting enough, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, all, until recently, have had very little to say about this. I think USA Today was one of the early people to talk about it. But anyway, Joe Biden's on this call with civil rights leaders, and let's just say it was Uncle Joe. He sounded like that angry uncle or the dad in charge that you invite for Thanksgiving. Sound like the same Joe Biden he's really always been. The good and the bad. I found it pretty offensive. I think if you're talking to civil rights leaders, a lot of the reason for the call would be to hear what they have to say and to learn things. Well, Biden had the attitude basically that he was going to teach them some things. He sounded very bullyish, arrogant, degrading. His temper came out. A nice way to put it was he's from a different time. I refuse to say this isn't allowed, and we're going to talk about Biden. This has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Election's over. Nothing to do with Donald Trump. So save that on your comments and messages to me about Donald Trump. Let's see who was in this meeting. Lots of leaders. I don't want to try to name them all or mess anybody's name up, but I know that Derek Johnson, head of the president of the NAACP, was there. Reverend Al Sharpton, mainstream Democrat, civil rights leader for sure. They also had Cedric Richmond was there, who has recently been named to the Biden cabinet, or there's talk of it, environmental position, and there was talk that he would be with Biden at all times, kind of like a senior advisor, that he'd have somebody to lean on because racial issues were important to him. I think it's more of a shield, kind of like Joe Biden's quick to reference what James Clyburn says all the time, but that doesn't necessarily represent the thoughts of Black America, but certainly a part of it. I encourage you to listen to the tape. I'm not going to play any inserts of it, but it speaks for itself. And you kind of, what rings true in my head is that Martin Luther King said when he wrote a letter from Birmingham jail to his wife Coretta, shortly before he was killed, he said, "I've grown to fear the white moderate the most," and this has been a fear of a lot of us on the left. He started talking to him in a conversation, and he was very defensive. He said what had happened was Derek Johnson had brought up some concerns he had about Tom Vilsack being named to the cabinet as Secretary of Agriculture. And Derek Johnson was talking about how this would upset the electorate, especially in Georgia. He had, in Georgia, Tom Vilsack was in a similar position in the Obama administration. In 2010, Shirley Sherrod, a certain civil rights hero, very, very looked upon as a wonderful pioneer and leader in the civil rights movement. She was head of Georgia's agricultural stuff, and she made a speech to the NAACP, and Andrew Breitbart, when he was still around, Breitbart, like Breitbart Media, Steve Bannon, Trump, anyway, right-wing nutso stuff, got a hold of the speech and basically spliced it up and chopped it up, and saying she was against white people and whatnot. You can do your own research there. Anyway, Tom Vilsack fired her from her position. And then it came out, the original tape came out, and it talked about how she was willing to help the white farmer out, and how just trying to work towards to the NAACP, the advancement of colored persons. She's just doing her thing. Well, whenever the White House was asked by the press about why she was fired, since it turned out it wasn't true, the White House's response was it was 100% Tom Vilsack's decision. So, unprompted, Joe Biden, as he's just kind of going off on a rant to this group, says to Derek Johnson and the group as a whole, he said, now I know you expressed concern about Tom Vilsack, and then he kind of talks down to him saying, which you'll learn more about his record. So basically saying that he is going to name him, and said, but I wouldn't bring any of that up until after the January 5th election, which that was Johnson's concern, was bringing it about up as it wouldn't be a good thing for black voters. And, of course, black voters in Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, especially young black voters that were brought to the table for the first time, is what pushed Biden over the top. And Biden said famously in his victory speech that black people, you have my back, and now I'll have yours. Well, I guess this is how he has your back. He said he went and unprompted started talking about the Vilsack stuff, and then he went straight to and pivoted and went to defund the police. Of course, Barack Obama recently called it a snappy slogan that said that's how Democrats lose elections, which this was started right after the election. Problems that the Democrats had was because of the defund police, that's why people lost. Well, I don't think that's true. This is spoken about by moderates like Republicans, moderates. Joe Scarborough, James Clyburn would be your a black voice who's brought this up, and now Barack Obama. But one, I'd like to know which Democrats did bring up defund police as a part of their campaign. Oh yeah, Cory Bush did. Ooh, that was one of the big upsets that the Democrats won. Jamal Bowen also was a proponent of defund the police. And if anything, I would say the largest movement in world history, this is what brought those young people to the table that put them up over the top. The movement got kind of silenced, but these have an agenda now, and defund the police, I believe, is more popular than ever, especially we're learning a lot of truths with this virus. And as healthcare budgets, education budgets, homelessness, hunger, all these budgets are squeezed. People are wondering why over half of our budgets, city budgets, go to the police. But anyway, Joe Biden said, don't y'all be talking about police reform until later. I got it on my list. He said, but especially that defund the police. That's how they beat the hell out of us. Well, it seems like Democrats make these mistakes, and whatever Republicans say is their problem, they're going to agree with the Republicans, and that's how you go against an issue. You know what else was unpopular messages? ERA, women's right to vote, was unpopular. The civil rights movement was unpopular at the time. Muhammad Ali was extremely unpopular. Being against the Vietnam War was unpopular. Being against the Iraq War was unpopular. Black Lives Matter was originally unpopular. Wrong messaging. Well, people protesting and advocates aren't going to say, we want less police brutality and less black people getting killed by the police. No, we want to end it. And people are going to say what they mean. And it's as far as these liberal ideas, the DNC couldn't support Medicaid for all with all that money they get from Big Pharma. But candidates who did won. They say the messaging hurt. Let's see. Florida went for Trump. It's supposed to be close, but went pretty good for Trump. But you know what else Florida passed with that same electorate that voted for Trump? They passed $15 an hour minimum wage. They passed a fair wage balance. A lot of these things that people think are unpopular, that's just what corporate media is telling you to. Now, MSNBC and CNN's ratings have never been better. This Trump election fraud, they say they don't want to hear about Trump. Let's move on. But they're worried to death about Trump. They can. Anyway, back to his Zoom talk. When he went on his defensive rant, he said let me tell you, I might not have AOC or progressive stamped on my head, but I've got more done than anyone you know in Congress. I've got more done. And he said, I was the first person, black or white, to mention that the COVID was affecting black people 3 to 1 over white people. I mean, he was the one. And a guy I like listening to who's gaining a lot of popularity is Tim Black. He's a progressive, centered on issues important to the black community. He's black. He had some words to say. He said that Joe Biden said, "Warm up the bed, go tend to the crops." He said, after the I don't have AOC or progressive stamped to my head, he says, "You got KKK stamped to your head." It's going to be, it's open season. It's time to tell things like they are, and people will be open for their opinions. Biden also said in the year 2040, white Europeans will be the minority. And you guys are going to have to answer to Hispanics. That's right. Y'all won't even be the biggest minority. You're going to have to answer to them. It's just something definitely to be aware of. And kind of talk to him like it was dad talking down to kids. Kind of similar to that. It wasn't a hearing from the civil rights leaders as much as it was a talking down to the civil rights leaders. I think that the protest tells us that a lot of things need to be dealt with, and people are tired of being told to wait. We were told to wait until the election. People said, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. And then I'm going to hold him accountable on day one. Well, it's going to be a fun 4 years. I'm going to be holding him accountable and continuing to push for things that matter. There's so much. I think that people've got to get the Trump factor, and you better believe CNN and MSNBC are going to want you to keep Trump going, especially whenever he says something about defunding the police. It seems like Joe Biden mentioned it more than Kelly Loeffler did in Florida. He said, if you said you'd vote for Joe Biden, but you're going to hold him accountable, it's time. That comment he made just keeps ringing in my head when he said, no AOC or progressive stamped on my forehead, but I've got more done than anybody you know. Well, let's talk about, you got more done? Who else got more done? The Atlanta child murderer got a lot done, didn't he? Donald Trump got a lot done when it comes to judicial appointments, but is that good? What has Joe Biden done for the black community that he's got done that are good for the black community? The crime bill, where he incarcerated black people and threw away the key, helped escalate the war on drugs, gave 50 to 60 new qualifications to fall under the death penalty. He helped NAFTA, that great trade deal. That was good for people. He helped push through the Iraq war. Getting everything done isn't necessarily the best thing, but he was the Joe Biden that we know. Must have got him in a bad mood or something, but he seemed to be treating the humans that he was talking to as the enemy. Certainly didn't seem like he was looking for any guidance, and it didn't look like he was looking for any advice or any concessions. He was just telling them that he's in charge now, and he'll get it done. And he did the talking points to keep moderate people happy. If defunding police makes you uncomfortable, good, because you need to think about it a little bit and what's going on. I hope that defunding education made you uncomfortable too. Defunding healthcare and defunding our pockets right now. We don't have a stimulus bill. It's called a survival bill. We don't have anything. That's our tax dollars they're playing with, but we don't get anything of that. That seems to be a big deal. Americans need money real bad. So all those things that have been okay defunding, I'm sure the Planned Parenthood isn't one that you hear a lot about, but been defunded. Arts and schools. My daughter was in marching band, and we had to do fundraisers so the kids had instruments. All education, everything's defunded, but the police are never turned down. And through this COVID emergency, if I hear one more article about how the police received so many more million in their budgets, it's going to make me sick. Anyway, just wanted to bring up the Joe Biden stuff. Let's put the gloves on. Our leaders and our agenda matters. Let's push things towards the left and for the people and what the people want. Let's not run scared in what the Republicans or Trump tells us we're going to do. Believe that that's the reason you're not winning. Maybe the real reason you're not winning is because you're playing the same deck of cards over and over and refusing to bring more people to the table and inspire. That movement had millions of people organized, mobilized, and motivated to vote. And that's what helped Joe Biden get over the top. It's time to listen to them. Hey, I want to give a shout out to one of my new subscribers, Mr. Aaron Thomason. He's a righteous brother. Certainly finds himself on the left side of things. Good brother. Sent me the best music video ever. We'll probably have a video about that. Well, I promised I'd stay under 5 minutes, and it's at 23 minutes and 30 seconds. If you made it this far, be sure and like, share, subscribe. Hope everybody's doing all right. We're going to have more talks about Joe Biden. I'll say some good things about him. There's lots of good things to say, but since that's all we hear in the mainstream media, Fox News will be critical of him. They're talking about Hunter Biden and stuff, but your mainstream media doesn't do it. So let's get real. He's our president-elect. Yo, Dre, I got something to say.